RNZFB child and family worker Gary Venstra talks about making a first visit to a family. This is a Blends Information for Families video.
First visit is an open book, which you start to write from the first visit, really. And it is finding out who the people are, who is this family, uh, who are the adults here, who are the parents here, if there are two parents, there's one parent, who is the parent here, and what's their story, and what's the story around that child. Often in my first visit I ask the question, tell me the story of your child. Because in telling me the story of your child, you often also tell me a lot about you. Really. And that's something I'm interested in, because the bottom line for me is that every child, whether it has a disability or not, from my perspective, needs to grow up with the best possible support it can get, first of all from their parents. Okay? So I want to know, who are you? And often, how has this affected you? Having a child with a disability, or a child that can't see, or a child with limited vision? What has been the effect on you? How have you handled that information? And it's very different. If you have a child that's 6 weeks old, parents often handle that information very different than if a child is 6 years old or 16 years old. Really. So, and that's part of the story. It's a new story every time. You don't know what you can expect, but you need to be able to tune in to whatever is given to you. So I go with no expectations. My only expectation is that I get to know the people and hopefully learn a bit about their story. And from there we go. And so at the end of that visit, I will probably come up with some ideas and conclusions, or if people do really well, I will say, well, I will say that, because it's important that people do well, that they know that they are doing well. I hopefully, and I try to be very aware of that, give people every time quality that I see from my perspective, because I think it's not an easy job. Parenting overall is not an easy job. Parenting children with a disability, which often has a whole variety of question marks behind it, is a very complicated job and requires an enormous amount from each parent if there are two parents. I also look at how they communicate with each other. Are mom and dad on the same wavelength, or are they in different worlds, which is very normal. And my reality is, and that's what I've learned over the years, that mums are very much about the day to day and the next day and the day after that, while dad's thoughts often go into 15, 20 years later on. And often they don't always voice that with each other, because when you have a child with a disability, it's life's taken over, and you don't always have an opportunity, or you don't always make time, or you sometimes don't know whether it's wise to say what's on your mind. So lots of things are left. My job sometimes is to make sure that they're not left, because people need to know that from each other. Again, it depends on each situation. If you have parents who are very practical people, then that's something I may not address in my first visit. I may wait a few visits till I've actually got a relationship established, till I can sense that they trust me enough that I can actually make that statement, or ask the question. But if the first question shows a lot of emotion, then I might bring it in, and I may ask a question about, how is this for the two of you? And that will give me a lot of information. It's very important. Communication is a great word. We don't often use it very well, and I think that's not only with families with the children with disability. I think lots of couples in whatever situation sometimes need to ensure they make time to check out where they are with each other. There's a high separation rate amongst families with children with disabilities. I always think I can't stop it, but I'll do my utmost to prevent it, really. And so, depending on how it goes in the first visit, I may throw that in. and ask individually how it affects them, really, whether that's different, and take it from there. But I need to have the trust first. My first visit officially is a needs assessment, but I don't write things up till the end, till I've heard the story, really. And so I make notes around that and then explain to parents briefly what these notes are going to be about and give them the opportunity to read them first before they go into our system and approve them or change them. Because in the end it's their document. Like everything, all the information in our system belongs to the family. I want to be pretty careful around that, really. In it there are also some practical things like, do they get a child disability allowance? Are there any other benefits they might be entitled to? Who are the other professionals involved? Do they have a good relationship with all these professionals? Do these professionals understand what they are about? And sometimes that can have quite some surprising information. And sometimes I can take something of that on and contact the professional and say, a bit concerned, could you follow up with this? Do you want me to give you an example? I was with a family a few years ago who had a visiting neurodevelopmental therapist who been the day before I came and honestly told them that they didn't know what to do with their child, which horrified me. Because what is the message you give to a family? The message you give is, you have a child I don't know what to do with. How can I expect you to know what to do with it? I was absolutely horrified by it, and I thought it was very honest of the visiting therapist, but it wasn't very helpful. So I took on together with the teacher from the Visual Resource Center at that time, to change the picture, really, and to find out what could be done. And we worked it out, and lots of things could be done. But no family should ever have to put up with, I don't know what to do with your child. For me, that's not professional. Yeah. We may think it, but then it's our job to use that thought as a challenge to change it around into what will happen and what we can do for this child. So I was, and I've had a few more instances like that I think. Now, I always say to families, I don't know everything, because I don't know everything. But if I don't know, it's my job to find out. That's why you get professionals in your life. Professionals, I'm going to be really strong on this, and you may want to cut this out at some stage. They're service providers. They provide a service. They are not there to control your life or take over. Right? I'm really strong on that, because sometimes people can be a bit like that. They come in knowing best. No. You are mom and you are dad. You see your child every day, 24 hours a day. You know best. So make sure you never forget that. Everybody else provides a service. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 2 hours, sometimes it's a few times a week if you're lucky. But overall, they come in and they see fragments. They never know your family and your child as well as you do. So hang on to that. You are that professional. Other professionals just add to it. Don't forget.
Many thanks to Gary Venstra and the RNZFB. You can find more stories, information and ideas at blends.school.nz.